Before you move on to book four, we might want to return to some of the ideas that we thought of before we even began reading the Odyssey, especially where it fits in the cycle. And, really, if there's a central figure in the cycle, well, Helen feels pretty central. She she's not the original cause of strife, right? That's the apple that's thrown in, but she certainly is the famous poetic line is she's the face that launched 1,000 ships, and she survives the entire war, and she comes home from the war with her first husband, Menelaus. So, and we'll meet her in book four. So, in order to prepare for meeting her in book four, on the one hand, I think that our ideas that we've looked at before of like agency and responsibility, those are really important ideas when thinking about Helen. How responsible is Helen for her actions? I mean, in our modern context, where we aren't blaming individual gods for our actions, we'd say she's 100% responsible. But how would the Greeks have viewed it? Is she? She really does love Paris at a certain point, and so it's kind of an awkward situation now that she's, back with Menelaus. So I think the key dichotomy to introduce before you read book four, and something that you should read book four really carefully for, is that a dichotomy between loyalty and deception. And again, we've had to think about that back with book one, with the deception that Athena's using on Telemachus. Also, when you read book four, you might, it's fair to wonder why it's called the Odyssey at all, because we've been hanging out with Telemachus the whole time. He's been our central character. And book four is going to be the last time that that's true. So see if you can use book four to sort of wrap up your understanding of this this education or this travel of Telemachus. Finally, you've been paying attention to who's telling the story for a while, but I'd like you to take very careful note of that. If you're familiar with the Christopher Nolan movie Inception, which involves dreams within dreams, in book four we'll be introduced to the idea of stories within stories. And so if you can keep track of the levels that the story is taking place at, I think that will help us a lot. And I really think Homer's giving us a little bit of a preview of a technique that he's going to use again later. And later he's going to use it to even more important effect. But if we've been thinking about audience and context, think about how that changes as we get deeper and deeper into a story. I'm telling a story that I heard from somebody else, and I'm telling you that somebody else told me this story. That depth of narrative can get very interesting before we get to the end of book four. I also wonder, as you're reading through book four, it's quite a long book. It's quite a bit longer than our other books. And I wonder if you just think for a moment, does it end in the right place? Should it have ended earlier? So keep that in mind if there's another breaking point between book four and book five. All right, I hope those things set you up well for success on book four, What the Sea God Said.